Hi everyone, this is Tanner, and today we're reviewing Spider-Man 1, which released in 2002. Thought this would be a good time to watch this with the release of the brand new day trailer. And I went into this movie with the mindset of not really knowing who Spider-Man was, right? I know who Spider-Man is, but I went in the mindset of someone, if I was seeing this when it came out, not knowing this character. And I was so impressed with how this movie works. I really think what makes this movie great is it has an airtight script. The person who wrote this, David Koepp, wrote on Jurassic Park, which is a movie I love, one of my favorites of all time. What I love about this movie and this movie is that this movie gets the point across in a scene, but then goes to the next one. There's not really any fluff in this movie, which I really do love. Now, does that mean this movie goes by fast? Does that mean things feel rushed? No, not really. It does go by at a good pace pretty quick, but it never feels like you're flying through stuff. Every scene serves its purpose. Sometimes those scenes are shorter, but I feel like everything you get in this movie adds up into the main story, which I really do like here. It's a classic Spider-Man story. Spider-Man versus the Green Goblin. You have MJ in there, Aunt May, Uncle Ben dies. Very classic story. But I like how Peter's and Norman's story very much parallel one another here. Tobey Maguire is great in this movie. I think his character gets the rap of being this earnest Peter, and he has those moments, but there's some emotional moments. He kind of goes through a bit of a dark phase, especially when Uncle Ben dies. I think Maguire hits every emotion in this movie. And so much has been said about Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin, this menacing villain, the laugh, the faces he does. It's fantastic, but I also really like his Norman. You can tell Norman's kind of tempted by the Goblin. I think there's kind of some underlying themes about addiction in here. And I don't know if that's what they were going for, but just the way you feel bad for Norman, I thought was really genius. And I love how this movie just goes with Peter and Norman and that whole thing. It's a through line throughout this entire movie. And I think it delivers so well. I think both characters are just so well acted. I love the costumes for both, especially the Green Goblin suit. I know people are very hit and miss, but I just love the fallen mask, the green. There's just something about it that's so iconic and fits this universe so well. I love the tone that Sam Rami has. It kind of reminds me of took the Adam West kind of Batman movies and the Tim Burton, Michael Keaton one and mashed it. You have a bit of that campiness and fun that fits, but a bit of more of that dark and kind of gothic-ish tone. And they just blend so well together. You can tell at times this was the guy who did the Evil Dead movies, right? There's some shots that feel very horror-like and very much, that Sam Raimi profile. But there's some just great comic book scenes. It feels like at times the way the camera moves, that this is like a comic book brought to the big screen. It was just so cool to see it in that way here. And I think that this movie overall just has a great feeling to it. This movie has been called kind of a Thanksgiving movie because it takes place during then, but there's just kind of an earnest feeling to it. This is just kind of more of a feel-good movie to watch, which is something that I really like. Yes, there are villains in it. Yes, there are people you have to defeat. There's bad guys. But the feeling of it, I think, just hits very well here. I also think from a movie perspective, this movie just works really well. The score is great. I like the theme in the Spider-Man movie. I don't love it as maybe other people do, but I think it's iconic. It's great. I thought the action was really fun in here. Usually when it comes down to the Raimi Spider-Man movies, people lean towards kind of Spider-Man 2. I think this one has some really good action beats as well here. It's kind of cool to see just Spider-Man going around the city, taking down henchmen and various stuff. But the Green Goblin and Spider-Man fights just really deliver, right? That final fight is brutal. And whenever they're in, it looks like some old area. I mean, it's just brutal. Green Goblin's really, kicking Spider-Man, kicking him down, and Spider-Man retaliates. I think all their fights are really fun, even the one at the fair, which I thought is a very iconic scene. There's so much great stuff in this movie with the action that I think does get a bit times forgotten. But yeah, overall, I thought Spider-Man 1 just really held up very well on rewatch. If I had any cons about it, right, I have a lot of pros, as I've gone on for about 4 minutes. A lot of stuff I like. In terms of issues, I'm just not entirely sold, I never have been, on the portrayal of Harry Osborn in this movie. I know James Franco as an actor has done some bad stuff behind the scenes, but I just think, even besides that stuff is terrible, I just have never really loved him as an actor in this role. Even before that kind of behind the scenes stuff came out, I just never really liked him in this role at all. And the one way I would describe him is that he feels very uncertain. You see in his first scene with Willem Dafoe, where you can tell Willem Dafoe has a vision for Norman. Harry seems very lost and confused, and that might have been the purpose of the character, but it's hard to kind of get a distinct feel for kind of Harry. What is he like? Yeah, he's jealous of Peter. Okay, he's rich. Where are things at here, right? I do think Peter and him have some good chemistry, but I just never loved James Franco in this role. And like I said, now that the behind the scenes stuff has come out, he seems like just a very person. Jake Gyllenhaal, there's a news going around that you've probably heard of, that he was actually going to be Spider-Man in Spider-Man 2, but then Tobey Maguire returned. I think Jake Gyllenhaal actually would have been a perfect Harry in this movie. I think he would have been really good. But we get James Franco, who just is in this movie. The Harry of it all just doesn't work. I also think, too, the actor they got for Uncle Ben's amazing. His death scene very much hit. It's emotional. But I wish we had a couple more scenes with Ben and Peter. This movie's about the father-son dynamic of, not only Norman and Harry, but Ben and Peter. At the end, Peter says, I had a father. His name was Ben Parker. And that's, like, really good. That's an emotional scene. But I wish we just kind of had a bit more of Ben and Peter. They only have really one scene, and Peter kind of argues with Ben. I just think we could have maybe fleshed that out a bit more. I would have liked to have maybe a scene or two more, something else here, because Peter just kind of doesn't seem, he almost seems a bit dismissive of Ben. And I kind of get the movie's going for, it's kind of too late by the time Peter, realizes, how much he loves his uncle. It's too late because, Uncle Ben dies in this movie. I get that, but I just think one more scene would have helped. But overall, yeah, this movie for me really hit on rewatch. It's my second time rewatching it. I could see myself rewatching it so many more times. I think there's so many great elements in this movie, and it just feels very comic booky. It feels Spider-Man, and Sam Rami, he did a great job with this movie. I'm going to give it a 9.6 out of 10. Let me know your thoughts below, and till then, take care.